galus to go out, but it's going to be on a more minute level. That's the idea of the aces. That's pshat. It's nefila. It's changing its format. It looks different. It's not a part of revelation. It's a helam, only helam. So this is also Abdullah v'richuk. It's not coming. What's it richuk? It's not on the same level the way it was before. So although it's the two parts to it. From one hand, where did Kalim come about over here? It's because the air is Reitzeli his galus, wants to come revealed. Once he went too far out, so to speak, he started being this gal achrat simsum, and is becoming more and more revealed. Then mitamol, the air is mistalik, steps away, he doesn't want to come down anymore, and then comes about the Kalim. Then the Asius, which they, so to speak, they burst up and they say, no, we're going to be Kalim, we're going to be Malimim, and there's idea of Helam, and there's a Kavon in Helam, and you can't undo us, there's ultimate Kavon, there should be Helam.
So they're holding the order. So
That to get later the air, because later they're going to pale that the air should be in his gal on them, because the air is going to realize that really the Kavon is to come down. That's already going to be later. But the first stage is going to be that they're going to become Kalim. That's this Havas HaKalim. The Kalim are going to become to be Meo Eish Shebeheres, from the Eish Shebeheres, but it's not automatic sistazeh. We say that air makes Kalim. It's not direct. This is what he's trying to say, that it's not B'derech Kiru V'Gilui. We come from the Eish Shebeher. From the air, says the air eventually, like for example, a person, when does he have Asius? Only when he has a thought, when he has a feeling, then there's Asius. The Asis itself are coming from the Nefesh, which has Asis. Irrelevant if he has expression to say, if he has a feeling, if he has understanding, there's Asis in the Nefesh. It's Maleo Asis, the Lushness. The Nefesh is full of Asis. The Sherish of Asis in that's a Nefesh. A person has an ability to express himself, to go out of himself. But when does he use this expression? When he has what to say. So they come about by the fact there's what to say. But when does it become a Eis Mamish? Only when he speaks it, when he writes it. That's really when it's actually coming separate from the idea. So it comes out, it's the idea of Asis coming out is thanks to the fact that he has what to give over, that he has a feeling that's being expressed. But when does it actually come on Metzius of Asis that I can see it, is not B'derech Kiru V'Gilui. Rather, when the air is removing itself and not interested in giving, that's when suddenly it comes out. So it's even a Savos HaKelim Me'o'er. Bepale is also an eif. It's not eifin of Gili. It's an eifin of Helen. It's nefila. It's not the extension of before. Is it clear? The thing is that over here, it's the Chalal doesn't mention most of the things we're saying. So if you want, you could focus on this marshal because you're saying it's there. It's here. This is what he's saying, and the film Masagose, b'meila, it's not an extension before, it has to come a new understanding, meila, it's a new yin of Kalim. We could go like that. But the thing is, the Middle East sticks in that there's the Eish Shebeir, and that's his Avus Eir, and that comes from the Rishimu. So it has to have some explanation. And what happens, it falls off, and what happens? It becomes a separate entity. How does it happen? And it's really existent before. So some Aces have to be that it doesn't. On one hand, he explains what's happening, the contradiction of the two. But on the other hand, we have to understand, what does it mean? How is it existent before, and now how is it existent now? Basically, that's explained in Samach Aleph. I think it's, in a way, it's more explicit here. In another way, it's more explicit. Fine.
So the question is, when does the concept of Richu come into being? You have the Rishima is that where the concept of Richuk starts or not? The Rishima is really koyach.
There's from this whole seif, you have three ideas of Richuk. You have the first idea of Richuk, Tzimtzum.
Okay.
The air was in the Nastalik, Helam Ha'ir. The second idea of Richuk is the fact that it comes from the Rishima, which is a Kech Nelam, which by nature does not express itself. And if that's the source, it's not going to express himself when he makes it. It's going to be from Shel Helam. We say like a teacher which teaches by not saying. So the teacher, the student doesn't feel a closeness. He's learning a lot of lessons, but it's not. He doesn't feel close to the teacher. Then we'll say a different concept. But when he has to actually give over the message, in order, he has to express himself. But so he's expressing, but disexpressing. That's what he's saying. Even the Hasavas Akelim Mehoer is also B'derech Nefila. It's not It's not say the shtalshus. It's also a yosher and chaser. That's kelim ve'eris.
That's where is that
in the air? In the air, you have, we said like this.
The kav. What do you mean?
The kav is kav agilui is air.
Okay.
Now it gets the Rishima what has the power to leave itself. Mitzad air itself, he would never leave. Okay. He wants to see the mocker. Now he leaves itself because he's relating to other than himself. That's the idea of Yetziyah Miatzmin. That's the Asius.
That's where you have the Or Yasher.
That's a Yosher and a Chazer. But
from that you derive the Kalim from the
Asius that exists in the air, which that's the Yosher of the air, right? That becomes later a Metzias of Kelim Mamish.
Asius meaning the two thoughts, the two Svaras, Asius, right?
The air and the Ace, that's the two Eiris.
Okay.
The air is going to be air Chazer. Air by definition is not the regular thing. Air is Gilui. Air does not want to be Mizgala. Air by definition is a stira to Gilui. Gilui means not the way the Moed is. That's leaving the Moker. Who demands Yosha it should be revealed? That's the Kalim. Kalim what? No, there's a Kavana in this Galus, which means leaving stuff. We said there's two types in Gili. Gili means the thing is revealed, or Gili means revealed to something. So that revealed to, that's the Asius. That's the Rishima which becomes Asius in the air. Right? But the way it's in the air becomes part and parcel of the air. Now the air is being revealed on a lower level. So the air has Asius. It's impossible, inevitable that there should be a revelation without this power of being going out of self. But it's not felt the Helam. You feel Gilui. But now there is this stira of these two, which the two parts of this air, which is on one hand the Asius Shabbat, which is pulling downwards. The air itself, which that's the kav itself, mitzad kav agilui, which means the moir should be revealed. We shouldn't be relating to other than the Eibishter himself. That's go back to its source. Chezelatz musay. That when the Asius say no, when they try to pull back, so to speak, when the air is saying, "Why am I leaving the mocker? What happened to me? I don't belong in this state." And the Asius pull back. No, we have to come out. So he so to speak, doesn't have the air with him. But mainly he's proving his point on a minute level. It's not he's the dominant one and he's taking over. The whole air is going to be revealed. He's going to be Asius, only Asius, which that's going to be a yin of Helam. It's not going to be I'm going to take the air with me. That also should be revealed. The thing is, over here it doesn't mamish say it. So there could be many ways to look at it. You could look at it maybe a little different slightly. Maybe it'll fit more the way it says it over here. That the Asius, the way they in the air, they're more powerful. They're better Asius, so to speak. They're meichel. They contain in themselves more. They're better kavah. What's a chelem? What's a keli? Begashmis. It contains. What's containing more? Asis of machshava or Asis of dibur? They're both Asis, but Asis and machshava has more into it. It has the whole thought in one word. You can think and what you have to say. It takes 15 minutes, which means the Asis and machshava are more powerful. The keli shebehem is greater. Now when they came in dibur, every ace is taka outcome of this level of aces, but it's already on a much smaller scale. Every word contains a very small part of the seichel. So that's nefila, so to speak. It's not the same way it was before. It fell. It's not from midargi. It's not the same powerful as it was before. And that only came about because he had to prove his point. Because the Eish says, "What's geist? What's this galus? Let's go back to the source in Gansen." And he has to prove his point. As the Loshi says over here, it'll fit better. So then it becomes a lesser part of a keli. So even though it's coming thanks to the air being this gala, so therefore, so to speak, if there wouldn't be air, so there wouldn't even be a samach shavet. There would be aces the way they're in the etzman nefesh. That's from aces. But they wanted aces to come out, so it's havus hakelim is idea air, the gilui ha'air. But still, the air doesn't last till the last moment of his havus hakelim. But the last step of kelim has to become, so to speak, on its own. But see, of a keli, the air has to leave. It's not there anymore. And by leaving, so to speak, that's when it comes about. That's when Kalim can become a Matzias of Kalim the way we know Kalim, which is a Matsuyir. It's only this idea. If we want to put it in more perspective, you say the aces, we said the Moshel of Machshav and Dibur, we'll look at it more and say the Shtalshus. You have In Akudim, for example, which is also not an ultimate right example, but over there you see it's Eser Eir is B'Kli Echad. The Keli is much more refined. It can handle everything, but it's not a real Keli. It says the Lashon that the Kli Echad. Why is it called Kli Echad? Because the Keli is also Echad. The Keli realizes Echad. There's nothing but the Eibishter, so it can handle anything. But once it comes out of Metzius of Kelim, so then it only can handle Chochmeh, Chesed. It's more of a Metzius. It became, even though it's the same, but it's already a lower level, the Kelim. So that is happening through Nefila. It's not a hemshech of the air. It has to have come out, fall off, which means it's not the same level. It's not extension. It's also b'derech richuk. That's what he's saying. It's not from the aces there that is coming. It's the way it was before. This is what we're saying. This is going back to last Maimer that on two parts of Atzilus. Once we say it's Netzel, it's a Gilui Elam. Here we're saying Chochma Ayin Timotze. Hainu B'chinas Kliach Chochma. The Kliach Chochma, when it is a certain way of it being, not the Blikvul, not the air. Yisavuso, how will it come to be? B'chinas Ein Areich. Since it's not an extension of before, it's Shalei to before, it's like Yeshmaim, it's a new way of being. The same thing is true in all the Kelim. Fine. Okay. I'm going weiter.
15 minutes.
We have 15 minutes still? Okay.
Yep. What do you say for the first little the question? Yeah.
Why is it?
The question automatically means if there's no question, it's Rebbe.
If it's no question, means that it's the way it's the original thought.
You said your thought is right. Maybe through the question you come to higher. You said right before that you said through the question you come to a struggle that you didn't have before. You can come to reach a higher seichel with the question. So why are you saying that since you have the questions it's right time?
I guess there's two ways of a question. You have a question, someone asks a question, someone doesn't understand it. He wants to see what's happening over here. Okay. Here he's not asking what's the pshat this week. He's not trying to gain the depth of what's happening. He's saying what you're saying doesn't begin. He's coming seiser. No. It's two people.
So you come to deeper seichel then. You have to come to deeper.
I'm also Talmud Machkan Rabbi, yeah, but here upon him he's trying to answer that even in your way of thinking, I'm right. Which means it's to answer somebody. It's not the original way. It's not this is the way I really think. This is not my way. I wouldn't have to go there. It's like l'didoch to you that you asked me this question. I'll find even according to you I could say it. My way of thinking is much more powerful. I think my idea is ultimately there's no other way of thinking. You want to give place, it's not like he accomplishes the other person's way of thinking. He says there's two ways of a question. I would think there's a question. You ask a question, and after the question, the person asking the question agrees to the one that's answering. That means he's not coming with that there's impossible the other way of being. He just doesn't understand it yet. He's not getting it yet. It's a different way of questioning. Here we're saying the other person is opponent. He's saying it's not true. You can't say this. There's no such thing as Helen. The Eibush says, "Ain't What are you going to tell him now?" No, really, there's a kavanah, but it's not changing the other person. So to speak, the relating to the opposite, the way of thinking is already on the field. He has to go thinking, and how am I going to explain it in this person's head, which is anyways not going to come take it. I'm just going to have to. The truth is, ich weiß nicht. I don't know.
I mean, you said sich last week about the min, but the time they don't give an answer for the min.
Right.
Wasn't the real answer.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that was It's not even the real answer, right? It's another thing, right? Yeah. Here, there's something to this marshal that. Wie viel muss ich weiß nicht. the Lashen is over here. Is stiras or bitl sichlis v'rasei. He doesn't relate to the other person. He's seiser seichel. He's saying that over here, make another Lashon. He says, he hears the other person. It's like he negated his way of thinking. He put him off guard. He's saying, your way of saying that this is the only way, it's not true. So then it's, so to speak, he has to say, but there's such a way of being. Before he was going, the way we're explaining it in Lamaila Chapt is that before the air was coming with the Kalim. Everyone was with him. Everyone was on his side. This was the way of thinking. The air was Megal, so to speak. He has another way. He's not interested in being gated. And that's not going to be changed. If you want to go, you go on your own. So it's like it's already a step down. Before he was thinking, this is the only way. Al derech, he say, Sfiris the Teyu. Of course, it's not Sfiris the Teyu, but Al derech, Sfiris the Teyu, you say that when you hear Chesed thinks, the only way of existence is Chesed. You have to be kind. What's such thing? And then the Chevurah says, no, Lav Dafke. So to answer himself, no, there's still this idea of Chesed. It's already not. He's not the only one on the market, you know what I mean? He's not as powerful as himself. He has to go step down. Still, there's an in this also. So it's nicht as a stark. Before, he was working, he was the only man, he was the only thing over here. This is the only way, this is the only shitta. Then Mitzvah says another way of thinking. Okay, fine, there's my way too, but it's not as strong. It's not. The Fradu with Lamaila, I think this fits very strongly because it's also he can't force, he can't go as strong as he was going before. He can't give over the way he thinks it because others are not going with him. See, it's like becoming a small party. He's not as big as himself. So it's on the feel. It's not his essential way of thinking. It makes sense. A little, yeah. But it has that more.
You're defending your opinion. So whatever you're defending your opinion with, I can't be as strong as your opinion.
Right.
For something with defend an opinion doesn't.
I'm very busy.
You'll try anything sometimes to defend your opinion. So it's not as strong as the opinion itself.
It's not me myself the way I am.
But the point is that the two opinions, when they clash, something happens from that. The fact that they clash, there's room for something else. It's like a derivative of those two opinions. Because if you use the Beis Shammai Beis Hillel thing, they still hold by their own ways. It's either like that or like this.
True. Here also
it's not like there's nothing else between that.
True. Here also we're not saying a new thing came about, a third opinion.
Something happens.
Something happens.
And that something we're saying is the Kalim.
It's
from the emphasis of both.
That the one opinion express himself on a lower level is going to become Kalim. I guess there's two types of questions. There's a question sometimes that sharpens it and he uses it out as a stepping stone to bring his point even stronger. Then there's a question you ask this guy, okay, I'll find an answer for it. This is not his base to answer questions. His idea is a new outlook at everything. You have a question, okay, I'll find an answer for that. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily every answer is going to be a person's living for 50 years. Okay, this is what I'm standing at. Then
I remember once I was in Shiva, Rashab was leaving the Shiur. And someone asked the question. And he just closed the door, the Shiur was over. His whole thing he built up was
okay, that's enough. That's not true, whatever. So you know what I mean? He said if you see the Lashon over here, he says over here, Beis lemdim kshmefalven besvor nel di sogach asogach hadosh svor hadosh lohoy bedashneim. They never thought in this way. But you have two lomdim. It's not the pshat. They're both true. They're both solid. They're both right. That's not a question that they're right. But now, since they said hello to each other, now they have to start making new things to conduct it to strengthen their opinion. So it's not the same way as it was before. It's not their original state of being. Like you have two yeshivas. One yeshiva learns a pilpul. One person learns a diktuk or a higoyin or whatever. So each one, they yeshiva adasof. When the other guy comes to say, what's the emphasis? You're going to say this word, how does it fit in this word in the Gemara? And they're not used to the derech hadiyuk, yeah? So what are they going to do? So you start, find the psavort. It's not it's going to be true for this general opinion, but he'll never think about it because it's not his derech halimud. It's not his way of focusing at things.
Could it be that when you have those two sichlim or whatever, that one says his opinion, the other one says the other opinion, and then one says, "Wait, how could you say this? What about this?" And then he says, "Oh, maybe that's, we never thought about it that way." Is that? What is it?
That's before he proves his point. That's an nefila. That's the nefila.
It's like because the guy feels so strong about his opinion and says, "Hold on a second, how could you say this if it's like this?" And it's like, that's so that like second where he's like realizes that there's a valid question on his svara is.
That's the nefila. That's the nefila. That's the lashon he says over here.
And the fact that we pass according to Bet Shammai Bet Hillel, it means that Bet Shammai have to accept the opinion of Bet Hillel?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah, they stay in their
opinion. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like they didn't marry each other. It was a lot of conflict. It wasn't so simple.
In the Ayin Bais with the explanation.
Yeah.
They bring this Och Yashar and Och Hozer, they bring Bet Shammai.
Misham Basil, let's say, yeah, Basil is there, Gilui, and this is Helen. Right? Yeah.
6 minutes.
Okay. So what do we do? Do the kitzur?
So that's how Atzilut is Yesh Me'ayin.
That's how, this came from all sides of its existence. It's Yeshlei Berech, it's Yesh Me'ayin. He says the Lashon, he's saying, Rashab, the person asking the question, he falls, he's not as powerful, he's not coming, this is the way of being. And maybe he has to start thinking on a lower scale. It's basically, it's here, it says it much more clear. Huh?
Because it says in Kelim, which is a derivative of Eris, that's why it says Bein Arach, two elements and so forth.
Yeah, this Kelim, this idea of Kelim didn't exist before. Before is Ein Sof, now the new way of being, that's Yesh Me'ayin. First of all, the Savusa de Atzimtzum, that's the first thing we mentioned, that the Eres the Binas Alam Begam, Hachai Shebehem Mishorsham Horishimu, even the life force that they have from the Rishimu, which is already on their kav, on their line, which is the idea of Helem, Behin Azayin Shemis, which is the Zayin Shemis, which are connected to Helem, like you said, because everyone has a description, Kelis, Chesnel, Kimis, Gvura, even the way it comes from the Sheiresh, from the Rishimu, is a B'chinas Richuk. It's not the way it's in the Mokr. Therefore, the idea of Helm, Kufa Belonishmos, it's just like a body which doesn't see its source of life. So when the air leaves the Kalim, they stay like a body, which is the idea of Helm, is not Megala anything. He says, even the third factor, they actually come out, not from what they're made of. That they're coming out, the creation from there, which is our relation, it is revealing, this is from the clash of a Yosher Chezish and Neiflam Asius. Then Asius come about, which is Baron Moshel Alze, and he brought a Moshel on it, and the fact that he falling is Richuk. It's not natural. It's not the way he would think on its own. That's what he has to bring out, that if he would think up to another realization on his own, it would be on the same level. The fact that the other person clashed, so then he fell, he lowered himself down and has to speak it on a lower stage. It's true, it's a new way of being, and if they would never meet, they would never come to this, but it's not on his essential way of thinking. So that's what I'm saying, it's in the field, it's Shalei Be'erach, so to speak, to before. Fine. I'm just start last one line, it shouldn't finish with the field. Agam de be'emes, gam akelim da atzilus, heim chinas atzilus, sha'areim alakus mamish, even though kelim atzilus la atzilus. What's Atzilus? There's no Yeshus. It's the Eibishter. Sharei Malakus Mamish. Mikol Mokeim Bechinas Malakus the Kelim Ein Ze Bechinas Hispashtus Alika. The Hainu Hispashtus Orem and Sof Hamayz Bechinas Gili. It's not the Eibishter revealing himself Ein Sof. It's not Keich Hablik will reveal. It's a different way of revelation. That's what we'll learn next time. We'll give him a shalom for the fact, for the what does it mean? Shalom Gashmi. Okay, fine. We'll make a minyan?
Yeah.
The Kos Mamish. The H is Keich.